14. Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. You ever wonder why you do what you do? Well, psychologist Dr. William Glasser in particular kind of lets us know what's behind our wondering why we do the things we do. And so today our speaker is Wendall Walker, and he is going to be sharing with us. Let me turn this up here. He is going to be sharing with us about listening, which is one of Dr. Glasser's 7 connecting behaviors that helps to build quality relationships. And so here is just a little overview of what Wendall will be sharing with us. And Wendall, do you want me to take this down and you'll just speak it out, or
no, you go ahead and I'll let you read it.
Okay. So Wendall, of course, is senior faculty with the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory. And so he has come up with this. We will review the benefits of effective listening and the pitfalls of not listening effectively. So Dr. Robert Karkoff's interpersonal helping skills model will be used to identify the helper's behavior of attending, active listening, accurately responding to the content, feeling, and meaning relevant to the helper's situation. Now, it sounds a little complicated to me, but he's got another little chart here that we're going to look at that will even it out a little bit. So what this does, that Dr. Karkoff's, anyway, this leads to the healthy, which probably would be me and you in the future, which leads to the healthy feeling really heard. Oh, they heard what I had to say. And that we begin to understand and self-evaluate the other person's position and their deficit and their responsibility, and sometimes deciding to make changes. And so Wendall very much says handouts will be available. So Wendall, ready for you. Take it away.
Thank you. I see Bruce, I see Deb, Sharon. There's Dr. Dave Hancock from Cleveland, and Deb, they've got Sue's name on your photo. Are you at Sue's place? Oh, that threw us off. All right. If you have handy, or if you can get handy, let me encourage you to have what I would call a piece of scratch paper, note paper, and a pen. And a couple of times I may ask you to jot down something that you could later reflect on. So that would be a little bit helpful. Otherwise, you're operating on your own brain power too. One of the things that's happening here today is that this is a preaching to the choir kind of a presentation. The fact that all of us have tuned in, I'm making the assumption, and it's I'd be willing to bet $4 or $5 on it, that we're all quite, most of the time, quite effective listeners to other people. And so I'm just kind of saying what you all, I'm describing what you all do and know. I do like this model that I'm going to present. It gives a very structured delineation of the active process too. I would use the term active listening, but in Glasser's 7 habits of connecting habits, having just one word is helpful. You can kind of remember those. So you remember listening, and then you take that and expand on it. But active listening as opposed to passive, or being really engaged, too. Let me just ask you all, and just jump out, if you would, keep yourselves unmuted so you can jump right in there. Quick. One of the differerences in the Zoom versus a classroom, a small group setting, in that other group, we can just jump right in quickly. We don't mute and unmute ourselves, but if you would be prepared to jump in quickly, let's just brainstorm on what the difference is between hearing and listening. Hearing, hearing versus listening. Dave, what do you got?
Well, good morning, everyone. Yeah, reminds me of a poster that I had in my counseling office. Listen and silent have the same letters. Coincidence?
All right. Deb, is that you or Sue? Both. What do you got? Hearing versus listening.
Listening is when you're engaged with what someone's saying and you're understanding or attempting to understand it and perhaps put yourself in their shoes.
Oh, yep. All right. Hearing is a physical function or activity, and my hearing can be impaired. My hearing is not 100%, so sometimes I don't hear accurately, or I could make the mistake of thinking I've heard it and go away and not have accurate information. That's like with vision. Remember, we used to have telephone booths, and they'd have the telephone directory, and I'd pick the book up and look at it and dial the number. It wasn't the right number because I transposed a 3 and an 8 or something like that. So there can be impairment, there could be accuracy or inaccuracy. And so, as you said, Deb, then the hearing is an active engagement in processing what we're hearing. Active listening is too. So just a distinction between the two. I did, I don't do a lot of Googling of things. I did Google TED Talks last night. Well, I Googled, I had forgotten this. The average speaker at and maybe at just speaker of some sort, I think talks at about 120 words a minute. And then I've been told a long time ago, we probably could process 2 or 3 times faster than that and take it in. And so if my mind can run faster than the person speaking, that means in my language that there's a good bit of idle time in my receptors here. In the idle time, I could be jumping ahead, anticipating what they're going to say, thinking about what they just said, how it applies to me, thinking about something else. So there's a challenge to keep on track with my capacity being greater than my challenges too. Dave, you got something to say on that?
Well, I was thinking on the number there, we have 50,000 thoughts per day.
I missed that. Say that again.
I forget who said it. Could have been Dr. Wayne Dyer. We have 50,000 thoughts per day. About 50,000 thoughts.
Oh, 50,000 thoughts. Oh, I see. Wow.
Yeah.
That taps into another question I had one time. I wonder how many choices we make in a day. And you've just said 50,000 thoughts. That's
probably about 10,000 maybe choices. Yeah.
I did, when I was looking up the average speaking thing, it did give me a thing that said the average speaker at doing a TED talk is between 125 and 150 words a minute. Sometimes on television, I'll hear guest people, and they're talking so fast, and there's an energy there that is a little overwhelming, and I have to really back off and say, I don't like this style, but let me see if I can get rid of my objection to the style and get the gist of what they're saying. So that's a skill that I have that sometimes I use and sometimes maybe I don't, too. But all right, so just the difference between hearing and listening, and that just quickly, group open forum here. what are the benefits or pitfalls of listening or not listening? All right, thank you. We're moving on.
Well, I used to tell my students, ladies and gentlemen, don't let your mind wander, because what if it doesn't come back?
Oh, that's
What was
good.
that again?
Keep it right here. Where is it? Yeah. Well, and
And there's
glasses.
a book, I forget the author, a book, Thinking Fast and Slow, because it's thinking, feeling, behaving. So I forget the author's name, but it's a good book, Thinking Fast and Slow, or Thinking Slow and Fast, something like that.
Yeah, interesting. Well, obviously, let me, as Zig Ziglar would say, let me prime the pump a little bit here, we'll get people started. um, it's such a bummer not to be listened to. And people will say, you're not listening to me. Ooh, that'd get my attention. Or the person says to a former high school counselor like Bruce, yeah, my parents never listened to me, Mr. Davenport. Nobody listens to me. And that's so insulting. It's so devaluing, disrespectful. And the first person that takes a little bit of time to listen to them, people just quite often just glom onto, thank you, finally somebody's hearing me. And one of the tricky parts about listening and reflecting accurately, you want to bring your chair in? Okay. Or you want to bring your chair in? You can do that. Let's see. Anyway,
Listening accuracy.
yeah. The benefits, of course, of us listening to people is that we get generally a very positive response from people, positive publicity. Oh, go see so-and-so. She's a good person to talk to. He's a good person to talk to. And in terms of, if we want to be effective and supportive and encouraging other people, doing the listening really encourages others to get involved. If you're a salesperson, a good salesperson does real active listening, and a salesperson that doesn't listen to the customer is not going to have customers very often. A counselor who doesn't listen to people is not going to have clients. Parents, there's a phrase I used to use that kids quite often, many kids take their parents out of their quality world at an early age. They're still in their perceived world, but they're no longer in their quality world. And some of them run away, some of them whatever, too. But they've taken them out because the parents aren't listening to them at all, So we have a good sense of what the benefits are and the pitfalls of listening to people or not listening to people. When I was in the doctoral program at Georgia State University, in a PhD program in counseling, they used the Robert Karkoff model. And Moni, you can put this hand up now, the Karkoff interpersonal helping skills model. And what this does, yeah, that's good. Robert Karkoff is a psychologist. I'm not sure what his status is today. He may be with us or gone. But we used his model, and it breaks it down into small, discernible, and explorable and learnable parts of the process that we just sort of take for granted. So quickly, and one of the things that happens because of all of this, if I'm watching other people, this was the basic helping skills class in the counseling curriculum. And so people had to do this before all the other classes. And so the observer can see the person it's like us if we said the skills that you need for reality therapy are, hi, what's going on? What's going on in your life? How do you want things to be? What do you want? What are you doing? And is it working? That sort of thing. So we have some of that. And this is even more kind of segmented here. And the idea is that if the helper does a good job of attending to people, that encourages and facilitates. I'm a probability math person, acting in those, the 7 connecting habits. If I act in those ways with other people, I increase the probability that they will choose to be involved with me and to participate. If I use the disconnecting habits, I increase the probability that they will choose not to engage and what have you. So I like that. I can't make that happen. In fact, in February, I'm going to do a program on, as a helping person, what do I have control over in the helping relationship? Things I have control over or not. But it'll piggyback right on top of this. So as a helper, if I do good attending, listening, and that sort of thing, I start to facilitate the other people being involved, and that means starting to speak and talk about things. And then if I do accurate responding to them, appropriate and on the mark, it encourages them to dig deeper and do a little more exploration of their situation instead of just coming in and say, this is it. And then I start getting the layers underneath. And then their exploration gives me the opportunity to, people come in and they talk about situations out there, the external world. And then this really runs along with reality therapy and choice theory. It gives me an opportunity to start personalizing the scenario and the information that I have to them. I'm trying to draw it in really on how this impacts on them. And as I do that, it facilitates their better understanding of their role in the situation. And then eventually, there's the possibility that when they get greater understanding, that I can kind of move to a point to nudge, to invite their initiating on their own some movement toward a more effective situation for them. So that's kind of the model there. And so what I'm going to do is I've got a role play. Oh, Mona, go ahead and move the handout up. And so there are different levels of helping, not attending, not helping at all, basically attending, responding to the content, the factual information that people are talking about, responding to their feelings about what's happening going on, responding to the content and the feeling, the meaning, and then personalizing and moving on too. All right, Mona, go ahead and put up that. Here we go. Here's what I'd like to do for a little bit of involvement with you. And so again, if you would unmute, because we're going to do 2 or 3 circles around asking you to be the role of the helpee. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to do probably 8 or 10 of these, and I'd like you to number them. And you're literally just going to read this right off of this handout here. I'm going to say, let me start with you, Mona. Okay, and then I'm going to say, Mona, what's been going on since I saw you last? Let's sort of say I'm in a structured helper relationship. I could be a friend. Hey, Mona, what's been going on since I've seen you? I'll say maybe a counselor client. So I'm going to use your name, and Mona's going to read this verbatim, and then I'm going to respond to it. And then I'm going to ask all of you just quickly and the individual. What's your response to what I did? Okay. And we'll just kind of go through a number of these that have small gradations between them too. So stay unmuted. I'm going to do Mona, and maybe I'll jump to Sharon, then Sue. That's okay. So make a note or two, and we'll just stop right afterwards. Hey, Mona, good to see you. What's been happening with you since I saw you last?
Oh, Wendell, this has been a terrible week at work. You know, that special project I've been working on so hard for the last 3 months? We had a budget cut and my program has been eliminated. I am so frustrated and upset.
I'm sorry, Mona, what'd you say?
I'm sad. This has been a
No.
terrible week at work. I mean, my project that I've been working on for 3 months, it's been cut. It's been eliminated.
All right, everybody, write down. Give me
I'm so upset. I'm so angry.
Everybody, write down, and Mona, write down. You know, like give me a score from -7 to on a scale of 1 to 10, and then just quickly, and Mona, yourself or anybody else, your response to my attention to you and your observation. What did I do?
It'd be at the bottom, Wendell, because you were there to listen and you did not, or possibly, I mean, it didn't come off. It came off as if you were not listening. And then all at once you wanted to be tuned in. It could have been that you were asking her to repeat for better clarification, but I don't think that was the situation.
You're overly gracious. That's your kind-heartedness and your core personality that oh, that's nice. Look at look at Mona with those skills. That's very good, Mona. Thank you. Well, I mean, so that was a big nothing. I was not paying attention. I asked a question and then I was distracting and whatever. I'm sorry. What's going on? Okay, so all together. All right. Here we go again. Sharon, what's been going on since I saw you last? Oh, you're going to read the verbatim.
What
Yeah,
Mona read?
We'll get tired of this, but it's a
Okay.
helpful way of discerning. Oh, there we go. Back down a little bit, Mona. There we go.
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah. So Sharon,
Okay.
hold on 1 second. We
There
need
we
to
go.
Oh,
Okay.
she's got
I've got it.
all right.
This has been a terrible week at work. You know, I've had that special project. I've been working on it for 3 months. We've had a budget cut. Can you believe it? Right now, when I'm right into it and my program's been eliminated, no possibility going ahead. I just don't know what to do. Why should I keep working? I'm frustrated and upset, if you can't tell from my tone of voice.
Yeah. Did you see that Wisconsin Michigan game the other night? Wasn't that a good one?
Wendell.
Okay, you're back in the basement again for your listening skills, Wendell.
This is when Sharon gets up and walks out of the room. Forget
Right.
this. I'm not paying you for this. Okay, obviously. I mean, we aren't the kind of people, even with minimal skills, you typically don't do those kind of things. Okay, that's terrible. So Deb. So Deb, haven't seen you in a while. What's been going on?
It's just been terrible work this week. I've had a special project that I've been working on for 3 months. And they cut the budget and my program is totally gone. It's eliminated. I'm just so frustrated and just really upset.
Hey, don't feel like the Lone Ranger. They cut my hours too.
Well, at least you heard what I said. Maybe.
You're too
Misery likes company, right? In counseling.
Well, I've changed the focus from you to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That happens all the time
Yeah.
with people who are not that skilled at listening. And I mean, standing around the tennis club, a little group of people, and you're chatting, and you have a little story to tell, and you say, I was watching Oprah Winfrey the other day, and she was talking about, oh, I like her. What? And they jump right in the middle of your sentence. Oh yeah, I like that. Or people change it all the time, and so it's distracting. These are obviously terrible kind of things to do, you know. And so, Sue,
Hi.
what's been going on since I saw you last?
Oh, geez, Wendell. It's just been a terrible week at work. Just terrible. I've been working on a special project over the last 3 months. We had a budget cut, and my program, they had everything. It's just been eliminated. I'm just so frustrated and upset. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah. So, what I hear you saying, this last week since I've seen you has been a terrible week at work. And that special project that you've been working on for, I guess, 3 months has been eliminated because they had a budget cut. And so you're feeling really frustrated and upset.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And this is called, I was trying to do what we would call a verbatim reply. And if you say, hey, what happened with that job interview? I didn't get the job. And so I say, oh, you didn't get it. So I've responded almost verbatim to the content of what people said. And you can have a tone of voice, and verbatim is important sometimes. I know when I go through the drive-through at a fast food place decades ago, they didn't have the little thing where they typed in exactly what you've ordered. So and you give them 7 items and say, okay, you have 2 hamburgers, a shake, and a drink. And you don't know that they're going to get it right. Now they have on there, no pickles, holy onion, blah, blah, blah. I like the verbatim. It's important at times, and yet it can be stilted and just non-contributory. Have we, let me look, I got to see where, let me see, where am I? Who do we still have here? All right. Hey, Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce, what's been happening in the last week since I saw you?
It's been a terrible week at work. You know, that project has been canceled. We've had budget cuts. It's been eliminated. I'm frustrated and upset.
Doing too loud.
Wow, so the big changes. That didn't even feel good for me to say that like that. I've heard him. Go, Dave.
I would like to mention. Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to mention Dr. Glasser said his famous quote: "We learn 10% of what we read the first time, and 20% of what we see, and 30% of what we hear, and then 50% of what we see and hear."
Yeah.
So if we have our students, yeah. So the longer you wait, as a physical hearing, I've been listening, and then it took a few rounds that I could probably verbatim back quote, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Lecture, take notes. That's our traditional way, you know, since kindergarten through 1964, 68, lectures, class recitation at times, a seminar, but a 50-minute lecture. And usually it turned into 40 8 minutes taking notes, then to go to the student center and recopy my notes, and then read them and study them, read, review, study for test. Memory, usually memory test. That's something, use your notes for your essays. Blue book, your blue books turned into green books. But then again, for my students, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to repeat this 2 times because you're not going to believe what I say. So listen up. Attention. Have everyone's attention, please. Attention, listen up. No homework, no memory tests. This is a recording. I said no homework, no tests, memory tests. Dr. Glasser's classwork and homework is clean your room and cut the grass and do dishes and vacuum. That was great. I laughed all the way through 35 years, really.
Well, you can see where we're going from here's how not to do it, to slowly the person physically attending. I didn't talk about this because it's kind of almost understood. When we're attending to people, we want to be looking at them for the most part. Now, Deb, move right up to the camera, okay? Move right, okay. All right, Deb, what I hear you saying is that this has been a tough week. This may be too much, to get right in there on people. And sometimes, I back off on things, and then maybe another time you lean forward with your hands on your knees. And so physically, and I want to be observing people too when they're talking. What does it look like? Their face, their emotions, too. So we're slowly moving in that direction. So Mona, I'm going around again. It's the same thing. It'll get a little bit boring, but it gives us an opportunity to see the differentiations, so to speak. Mona, what's been happening with you in the last week?
Oh, you probably don't want to know. It has been so terrible this past week. Yeah, I had this special project that I've really been working on hard for 3 whole months. But I gave a budget cut, and my program of all the programs has been eliminated. I'm just so frustrated and upset.
So you're probably feeling suicidal.
No, I'm not, but I am angry.
No. So my response, and I might have said there too. Okay, so this is kind of bothersome to you. Bothersome.
Well, yeah.
We're so sorry.
So in my response, I can be accurate or not on the content, and I can be accurate or not on capturing and restating the feelings that the person is giving. And then beyond that, the meaning, the implication. So what? This sort of thing too. So I could be too low, bothered. I could be overkill, too. Deb, let's go again. Deb, what's been happening with you in the last week?
Well, this has been a terrible week at work. Not only do I totally wreck up my Zoom calls, but the special project I've been working on for the last 3 months, it's done. They cut the budget, my program's eliminated, and I'm just really frustrated and upset.
Wow. I know you've talked about before when we've been together, the projects you've been working on and how important that was to you. And you've been, day and night and a lot of hours. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're saying to me that you learned of this budget cut. And not only that, but that your program been eliminated. So no wonder you're feeling really kind of lost at the moment and not sure what to do. So
yeah, it's like they don't value all the work I've done, and I'm not
Yeah.
even sure that I want to stay with this organization.
Isn't this interesting? You know, on the one hand, if I had a whole series of, if we were doing a little 5 or 10 minute role play, we would see the evolution of my responses with this model to what the person's giving me, and there's more involved. So it's a little bit stilted and obviously redundant here, but I wanted to kind of show the differentiations again between nothing and something and the more and that sort of thing too. So thank you for that, you know, too. And let me one more. I've got some notes here. So, okay, Sue, hang with me, everybody. One more time. Sue, what's been happening with you since I saw you last?
Oh, Wendell, it's just been such a terrible week. You know, I've been working on this project for 3 months and just been working really hard on it. And they put a budget cut in place and my program's been eliminated. I'm just frustrated. I'm so upset. It's just exhausting. I don't know what to do.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we've talked about that. This project, it was exciting for me just to listen to what you were doing. You were putting your whole heart and effort into it, day and night, sometimes working a lot of hours that you didn't get paid for. And just out of nowhere, they've cut it. And just and so I mean you're kind of hanging out there right now, not sure what's going on, and not sure where things are going to be going. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I appreciate your indulgence.
That feels pretty good, doesn't it? And it shows that I'm listening to the information. And then the thing is, later in the interaction with this person, you know, 32 minutes later, I'll make reference back to words that she used here or information, you know, that sort of thing too. So well, now we're kind of moving along to a decent level of responding to the content and the feeling here too. I'm going to do maybe one or two more, and then hope that we haven't surpassed your tolerance on this repetitive.
As far as I'm concerned, just jump the project anyway now. I've had enough of it. I'm sort of bored of the whole
thing. I mean, if my relationship's really good with this person, I would say, you haven't thought of going postal on them, have you? You know, how long ago was that? Was that 25, 30 years ago? And we use that phrase, the person who gets so frustrated at the job and they get fired. And anytime anybody fires somebody from a job today, they should be doing security preparations, assessment of possible risk or threat, because we've had a lot of people come right back into those workplaces, and sometimes they shoot at, kill people who weren't even involved. Just the frustration at the whole place. My goodness, too. Let me do a kind of one. Bruce, you still there? Bruce,
Yes.
What's going on with you since I saw you last?
Wendell, this has been a terrible week at work. You know, the special project I've been working on it got cut. The program's been eliminated. I'm frustrated and upset.
Oh my goodness, Bruce. I'm so sorry to hear that. God, this was your whole life for the last 3 months. You know, you're day and night working on it. I've been following with interest myself on it. And just out of nowhere, it must be really confusing and, well, you said frustrated too. And it sounds like you don't know, you're concerned about where all this is going to be going and what your, maybe even what your job security may be. Doesn't that feel pretty good? Decent? Yeah, okay. And each of us might respond differently with our own words. I'm looking most of the time to move away from verbatim to paraphrasing. I don't want to leave out information. I don't need to.
Exactly. I was going to say awful instead of terrible. Good. That's good. Very good comment. Recommendation. Paraphrasing.
Well, Wendell, I
Yes.
understand that you're frustrated with your program having been cut and that you're frustrated and upset and everything, but I'd like to encourage you. I mean, you were so ready for it. It's bound to come up later sometime. That, you know, it's not a forever done deal. I would encourage you to realize that you've learned a lot from this project, even though it was canceled, and that you have a lot to give to this school and to this community.
Right. A caring habit. Right.
Yeah, that feels good. She's validating my input, my resiliency. That's a big phrase in school stuff in the last decade or two, resiliency. We don't want to, yeah, I like it, Mona. There's all kind of different ways, and each of us has our style, and we may, sometimes you've got people that are really, what we call it, a literal. And I do have to be a little bit more, I feel like I have to be more verbatim with them than too expansive, you know, too. It's interesting. The Adlerian psychology people talk about a recognition reflex or response. So when a person does what Mona does here, I haven't used the word additive. The person, the client or the helpee gives you something, you respond accurately to the content and the feeling and the meaning and what they haven't said. You know, I think if I were in your shoes, I'd even be worried about the security of my job. Yes. And it's interesting, if you hit the nail on the head, the person gives you yes, like that. Thank you. Finally, somebody. I try to tell my friends and, you know, nothing, but that's the benefit of that. Well, anyway, what I'm going to kind of wrap up. We've had enough of those. Look at this cartoon here. Here's this helping person between the king and the queen. And the king says, or the person says, you say off with her head. But what I'm hearing is, I feel neglected. and with that kind of accurate response, maybe this person doesn't lose their head. Isn't it crazy the number of times people have at the decision of the king? I don't know how many queens. How many queens have had people beheaded? I don't know if that's not a queen behavior or not too. So anyway, just quickly, I'm gonna throw out some alternative sentence formats and learning to do stuff. Sometimes it's good to have a whole list of things that we can jump out and pull out in front of us. Then they become in our repertoire of organized behavior, a la choice theory, and we use them kind of automatically. But there are things, what I hear you saying is blah, 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 blah. So you're telling me, if I'm hearing you right, it seems as though this is what's going on. You seem to be, right now you're feeling almost totally helpless in this situation. Okay. Let me see if I'm following what you're saying. Okay. It sounds like, I'm wondering if what you're experiencing, besides what you've told me, is maybe something else also. When I said that, I noticed that you kind of pulled away or whatever. Let me see if I can summarize what you've been saying. Right? There's several things happening with you in your life right now. What you're telling me is, I'm hearing, as I listen to you, it strikes me that blah, blah, blah. The picture I'm getting is that sort of thing. These are nice alternative ways of us responding to people. And I like those too. So by way of just sort of wrapping up, we know the difference between, we know that listening is one of Glasser's 7 connecting behaviors and habits to build quality relationships. We know the difference between hearing and listening. We know that to be a good listener, I also, people who get paid to listen to other people. Bruce was a high school counselor. Our friend Mary Huston in Houston is just retired. She may be increasing her private practice. People who get paid specifically know that they've got to be ready. I've seen examples where a person said to the client, listen, I apologize to you. I've got some unexpected things that have happened in my life in the last couple of days, and I'm distracted, and I know that I won't be a good listener or attender to you today. Can we put this off for a day or two? In other words, I know that I'm not going to come in and give this person my best behavior, and it's unethical for me to take money and be a kind of a half sort of attending person, you know.
Well, the
So
thing of it is that everyone makes their own decisions.
Oh yeah.
And it's to help the other person self-evaluate rather than evaluate it for them.
Yeah, exactly. That, and this model goes along with that too. It's just a more kind of structured and that sort of thing too. I also just wanted to quickly, the feeling words that people would use, just quickly for you, and we don't even have to say anything. Let me give some words, and you think quickly about a word that may be high level of that feeling or low level. How are you feeling? I'm pretty happy right now in my life. Okay. All right. So you're feeling pretty satisfied. Or you're feeling okay. No, I'm more than okay. I mean, sometimes if we hit it wrong, they'll correct it. And then say, oh, thank you. And then I have a chance because I have this skill. I said, well, thank you. You know, I guess I missed it a while ago. This is more important than I realized. Thank you for catching me. And so I got that behavior to get back on track. A person who's sad, they could be gloomy, they could be glum, lonely, upset, they could be desperate. A person who's angry could be just ticked off, bitter, hostile, irate, outraged. You know, a person that's confused could be undecided. They could be feeling anxious, surprised. And so I want to have a repertoire of feeling words that capture low level, medium, or kind of high levels or that whole thing too. All right, I think since we've got the cartoon, that puts a nice wrap up on my part of it too. And so we can officially stop and then open up for a few minutes of kind of broader discussions. Thank all of you for participating in kind of that redundancy there. Yeah, Sharon's up.